Brandon, with this continued downtime of no basketball, well, I guess football season has started, and you're probably paying a lot of attention to fantasy football. But anything good you've been watching besides the Cowboys, finished. Right?
Well, besides my Cowboys, but let's talk about something good here. Actually, the Cowboys did look decent, promising, encouraging against the Eagles. That said, though, I just finished Dexter Resurrection, which is the best season of Dexter since season 4, like since the original 4 seasons that came out that like are considered the best, up there with the best of TV all time. This is the best since those original 4 seasons. It was so good.
And if I quit watching late in the original run, say season 5, do I need to like finish it, watch the prequels, all the other series, or can I just start right in on it?
I mean, I would say it's so good that you could start right up, but you would definitely need some sort of recap. A lot happened, like from season 6 through 8, and then with the New Blood and Original Sin and all that stuff. But I could give you the highlights. I could give you like the Cliff's Notes on what happened. Just watch this season. It's got Peter Dinklage in it. Uma Thurman is in it. Kristen Ritter is in it. Eric Stonestreet, like lots of great cameos from like Dexter characters from the past that we haven't seen in years and years.
Okay, well, a friend of mine was telling me about it. I stayed at this hotel in New York called the Empire Hotel, and my friend was telling me that that hotel features prominently in the current series.
Yes, it's a major location. Some major things happen at that hotel, and Dexter's son Harrison is an employee at that hotel, so a lot goes down at that hotel. You should watch it. It's getting like rave reviews, so it's not just me saying it's a really good season. Like a lot of people were left with a very sour taste in their mouth from season 8's series finale, and then they tried to make it better by bringing it back with a reboot, and then people still weren't happy with that ending. Like this is the first time Dexter fans have been happy since like season 4, really.
All right, well, I will check it out. I appreciate your recommendations. I will not recommend the Empire Hotel. However, it was for a work trip. It was my room, like the bathroom, I guess from years of moisture, like the door was like falling apart and was rotting. People had mold in their rooms, and this one person who was on our trip, like she was in one room, and I think maybe she had like mold and like the AC didn't work. So they moved her in a different room, and she's like, well, finally I got a room where the AC works. But then took a photo of something on the wall, and we were all taking guesses at what it was, and no one could figure it out. So yeah, I would not recommend that hotel, but they have a great rooftop bar.
Well, there's some characters in Dexter Resurrection who would agree with your non-recommendation of this hotel.
Okay, now I definitely got to check it out. Welcome back to the Daily Thunder podcast. I'm John Napier, publisher of Daily Thunder, and I'll be your host today. Alongside me is Daily Thunder beat writer Brandon Rahbar. Brandon, how are you today?
I am doing well. I am getting excited about the season, even though it's still, a ways away. We are in September, which means later on this month, we will have like training camp. So I'm just excited. Media Day training camp actually happened this month.
Yeah, it's right around the corner. I think that's the good thing about making the finals and winning a championship is the season carried on a lot longer into the summer, and so the offseason feels a little shorter.
Yeah, it really does. When your team that you're following, that you're a fan of, goes to Game 7 of the NBA Finals, it's quite literally the longest the season can last. And then, you have a championship parade and you're kind of soaking in the championship for weeks or even still months after it. So it makes everything go by really, really quickly in the offseason, for sure.
Well, there's been some things that have been happening around the league, so we've got some things to talk about. And then for our feature segment, we'll be going through the top 10 free agent signings in Thunder history to put a bookend on our prior segment of the top 10 draft picks in Thunder history. But let's start with Thunder news. It was announced by the team just recently that their first-round pick, Thomas Sorber, suffered an ACL injury and is going to miss the entire season. Brandon, what do you think are the immediate impacts of that injury and not having Sorber available for this upcoming year?
I mean, first of all, it's just a huge bummer for Thomas Sorber. I mean, we've seen this already with Chet, obviously. Nikola Topic, we saw it. Now Topic, he was drafted. He had already had the injury and knew he was going to miss his rookie season. But it's just a huge bummer for him. As far as rotations go, look, the Thunder obviously are going to play Chet and Hartenstein a ton of minutes as their two best bigs. But then you also have J. Will, who played really well last season. He's going to get a lot of minutes. I think Brandon Carlson has proven that he can play minutes if they need another big. And so I don't know how many minutes Sorber would have played. I think he definitely would have been, getting some rotation minutes here and there, and he would have been in the rotation for sure. Mark Daigneault plays everybody, and he was a number 15 overall pick with a lot of promise, so he would have played. That said, I don't know how many minutes he would have played. I think more so it's just a deal where we were all curious because he's, the next guy, the next rookie. Everybody wants to see him. Everybody is fascinated to see how rookies look in Summer League. They're fascinated to see then after Summer League how they're going to look in preseason and then the minutes they get and show that excitement and promise. And now that's going to be delayed a year. But obviously the Thunder have a lot of success with Chet taking a redshirt season, with Topic taking a redshirt season. Sorber is going to get to be around the team, soak up knowledge, learn, rehab, all those things. But he will be with the team just like Chet and Topic were. So I'm just bummed for him more than anything, really.
Yeah, and I think you noted the injury to Chet, the injury to Topic, which kept both of them out their entire rookie seasons. Does the Thunder have bad luck on that? I mean, it's the third time in the last 4 years that their first-round pick will miss an entire rookie year.
Well, for sure, bad luck on Chet and Sorber. Now, I would argue that the Chet thing worked out exactly, how it should have, because who knows, butterfly effect, had he not been injured, that first rookie season, Thunder obviously would have been much better, but how does that affect, future seasons or future draft picks or future standings, anything like that? They won a title, so you'll take it. Topic, they already knew about. They drafted him with the knowledge that he was hurt. But Sorber, for sure, definitely bad luck. It's just a weird thing that 3 out of the last 4 seasons, the Thunder will have a rookie. Their highest drafted rookie will have a redshirt season. I would also add, I think we all wanted to see with the uncertainty of Isaiah Hartenstein's contract next season, not this upcoming season, was Sorber going to be ready to take over that role? Now, we won't be able to see it. We won't be able to see him out there playing and things like that. I think internally, they have a good feel for Sorber and his talent and his abilities and things like that. And they have an understanding of Hartenstein's situation and contract and a plan and all those things. But I think fans just wanted to see, with the insurance of, if Hartenstein is gone, would Sorber be able to take over? But, that's just something, again, from us on the outside looking in, wanted to, be able to check some boxes or answer some questions. But this team it will have a plan. I wouldn't worry about that aspect of it.
Yeah, and I think that was going to be my next question as to whether this injury has an impact this season and what the impact might be on future seasons. I think we'll probably agree that the impact this season is going to be minimal because Sorber was not drafted because the Thunder needed him this year. They're coming off a NBA championship. The entire core is back. All the major contributors to that championship run are back. So there's no reason to think that Sorber was a missing piece for the Thunder to be a contender. But what about in future years? You mentioned the impact on whether he could be a potential iHeart replacement. What do you think the next 2, 3, 4 years looks like because Sorber is going to miss this first season?
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. I think this coming season is very minimal. I don't think it would have been that big of an impact one way or another as far as his minutes go. I do think future seasons, it would have been nice to see if he was kind of ready to take over that iHeart role. Look, maybe iHeart stays here in Oklahoma City. Maybe they do a decline and sign him for more years. We don't know yet. Maybe internally, once Sorber is healed and practicing and things like that, and then that'll be a ways away. but they'll have a better idea, for what they think he's capable of. And also, here's the thing: the Thunder are still loaded with draft picks. I mean, there's going to be bigs in this upcoming draft in which they're going to have 3 picks in the first round. So I would say the Thunder are in a great situation, regardless of what happens here. Everybody's coming back. Like you said, the internal development. J-Dub, Chet could easily take a leap this year. Cason Wallace, all these guys that are young. You're fitting Topic and A.J. Mitchell into this rotation now. There are so many guys on this team, pretty much 1 through 18. Well, we don't know who the 18th is yet, but I'm just assuming this guy is going to be able to play whoever they sign. 1 through 18 who can play in the NBA, like real NBA players. So there's no shortage of minutes to go around. I would just say, as far as like worrying 2 years from now about like a backup big, that could be Sorber. That could be Ihart. J. Will may take another leap. Carlson looks pretty solid when he plays. And they have all these other draft picks. They can make trades. Like, I just wouldn't worry about something 2 years from now on a championship team that's this young and still developing and has plenty of options and flexibility. Really, the only question mark left is the last two-way spot. Like, who's that going to be? That's the only thing roster-wise we're really looking forward to. Once the season starts, it could happen anytime now. It could happen in training camp, preseason. We'll see who gets that last two-way spot.
All right, well, let's talk about some other news around the league. Let's start with former Thunder player Josh Giddey. He just got his contract extension. What do you think about that one? Do you think it was a good deal for both sides at 4 years, $100 million?
Yeah, I think it was perfect because apparently, if you believe the smoke signals and tea leaves, the team was looking for $20 million a year. Josh was looking for $30 million a year, and they split it right down the middle, $25 million a year. I think it makes sense. He was a number 6 overall pick that showed a lot of promise. Obviously, he has some flaws in his game as far as defense goes and outside shooting goes. But look, he's a very young player who's a triple-double threat every night. And when you're a team like the Bulls who are rebuilding and trying to build around like him and Kobe White and some other guys, I think $25 million a year in this market is very fair value for both sides. I think that's kind of a win-win signing for Giddey and the Bulls. And obviously, like in retrospect, at the time, I think most of us thought that was a win-win trade, and I still believe that. The Thunder get Alex Caruso, who is an elite championship role player that helped them win a title. Very, very important to them winning a title. So it's an absolute win for the Thunder. But the Bulls weren't going to contend anytime soon, and they flipped basically a 30-year-old role player who is an elite role player if you're a contender, but they are not. They flipped him for a young player that's going to be a part of their future. So win-win signing, win-win deal.
That's right. And, of course, I don't think there's any ill will among Thunder fans for the way Josh Giddey contributed to the team and about his departure. So we all wish him well. And speaking of former Thunder players, Russell Westbrook is still without a team. The rumor still persists that he's likely to sign with the Kings. Is that what you're seeing as well?
Yeah, that's what I'm seeing as well. Like, I've heard some, rumors or speculation that he might take a huge contract overseas. I don't think Russ does that. I think he absolutely stays in the NBA. There's going to be plenty of NBA teams that are interested in Russell Westbrook. Like, even if it's for, a smaller contract, maybe he's looking for a bigger contract. I know the Kings very much want him. I think that'll end up getting done. It just seems like, there's interest there. And I think that he could help the Kings. And I think he's exactly the kind of guy that the Kings need, like to bring that kind of spark and that fire and that, competitiveness and that, winning success that he's had throughout his career, that toughness. I don't know. He kind of just brings an edge to him that I think could really, really help the Kings. And I think they obviously see that. And despite Russ's flaws at his age, I don't care what you say, he helped the Nuggets last year. He was a positive for the Nuggets in the regular season. He was their best bench player. He always provided a spark. He played really well off of Jokic. And then in the playoffs, yes, there were some games where, you got the bad Russell Westbrook. But I don't think that they win that first-round series against the Clippers without Russell Westbrook. And there was a couple of games in that Denver series against OKC that Russ really helped them. So I think that he can still very much be a positive impact player for a team, even at his age. Like, obviously, he's not a $40 million a year guy. That would be bad value. But if you can get him on a small contract, Russ will absolutely help a team.
And despite the fact that he is going to garner quite a bit of interest, he has been gaining interest. He can still play and contribute. I'd say Thunder Twitter and the fans have been buzzing about the possibility that there is no landing spot for Russ. And there were rumors that he was going to take a one-day ceremonial contract with the Thunder to retire. I'm not even sure that's possible. But what is your response to those rumors?
Look, Russ is and will forever be an OKC legend. And it would be cool at the end of his career if he signed a one-day contract, a ceremonial contract with the Thunder. And I think that should happen. That would be a really, really cool thing. Ultimately, he will forever be beloved in OKC, and that will be forever where he's tied to. When he goes into the Hall of Fame, like, it's going to be OKC. Sure, shout outs to the other teams, but it's OKC and Russ as far as his career goes, and the love the fans still have for him. That said, I just don't think on this team at this time and at this point in Russ's career when he still has, a lot of minutes he can play, I think that he deserves, at least 20 minutes a game for, a playoff type team or a team that's not a playoff team. He can still get a lot of minutes, but on this team, where do those minutes come from? The fit doesn't make sense at this point of his career. Plus, this is Shea's team and Dub and Chet. This is like a new era. As cool as it would be, I just don't see the fit. The Thunder could not give him the minutes that he needs, and he doesn't really fit the new era of Thunder's kind of style of play as far as like everybody can, for the most part, they want to be able to shoot from the outside, share the ball, not be ball dominant. And Russ is a very willing and capable passer and underrated passer, and he will do that. But the outside shooting, the role, I just don't see it. I just don't see a signing with the Thunder. But maybe a ceremonial contract, once he's done with his career for sure.
Yeah, well, and I think it's many Thunder fans' fantasy that Russ comes back, signs a contract for the veteran minimum, and gets to participate in a championship run with the team. But I agree entirely. Those minutes have to come from somewhere, and there's just not a place where those minutes can come from. So signing Russ and like having him take up an actual roster spot just doesn't make sense for the team, its stage, or even for Russ where he is in his career, because he still does have gas left in the tank and something to contribute.
Yeah, as great as it would be, because I agree, it would be really, really cool to see. But I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer here or like, rain on any parades or anything like that, because it would be really cool to see. I just you got to play, like, look at the guard minutes. Look at the guards the Thunder have. Like, they're going to try to find minutes for A.J. Mitchell and Nikola Topic this year, and that's going to be hard to get those minutes because the Thunder has so many guards. You got Cason Wallace off the bench. Alex Caruso is kind of a guard wing. Shea, Dub can play guard. Lou Dort. This team has so many guards, and, now you want to see – you don't want to take the ball out of Shea or Dub's hands unless you're giving those, minutes to Topic and AJ to see what they can do and build for that future and develop them. And Russ on this team would absolutely be the third ball handler. It just doesn't make sense for either party, for Russ or the team. But obviously it would be really cool to see if it were to happen, which it's not going to happen. Sorry.
Yep, that's fair. Well, you mentioned Shea, so I'm going to force a segue and talk about the Kawhi Leonard scandal that really has some roots in that major Paul George trade, because the whole idea of the Clippers was, hey, they have an opportunity to sign Kawhi. Kawhi really wanted Paul George to come join him in LA, and so the Clippers were willing to give up so much because it was essentially a two-player deal for them that they not only got Paul George, but they also were able to sign Kawhi Leonard. Now, have you been following this scandal pretty closely? What are your thoughts?
Of course I have. Yeah. I mean, look, let me just first off say allegedly. Just to just to keep it all clear. This is all speculation, but from what we know, from what's out there between Pablo Torre's podcast and what's leaked from like the Toronto days and what's everything that's been leaking, it seems like there's something going on here. And it feels like if there's any sort of suspicion of cap, manipulation and circumvention, that you just can't let teams do that. You can't let teams or players do that because it messes up the competitive balance. The whole reason, there's a second apron and teams are so afraid of the second apron. And we see teams like the Celtics kind of blowing up their team with Tatum being hurt, and all these moves being made, to skirt around the second apron is because they didn't want, the super rich owners like Ballmer to have a competitive advantage just because, they had more money and they could throw money at, whatever problems, luxury tax, whatever it is. And so if you see a situation where teams are skirting the salary cap and possibly, allegedly, maybe paying players under the table in different ways, like you can't just have a slap on the wrist. I think all the other owners and teams would be very, very upset for good reason. I mean, like, what if you're the Boston Celtics and you blew up your team and you have another team that wants to be a contender, supposedly, allegedly paying players under the table? It just can't happen. So I see there's two sides to this. Some people are saying oh, it'll just be a slap on the wrist unless there's a smoking gun. Then the other side of it is, well, hey, what the rule book says is there can just be circumstantial evidence, and that's enough. I think that it can't be a slap on the wrist. I think that, you got to look at, taking away draft picks, voiding contracts, suspension or bans for a year, that type of thing. Because this is a very, very big deal if it proves to be, true or looks to be true.
Yeah, and for those who maybe haven't been paying attention or live under a rock, the report from Pablo Torres is that Kawhi Leonard signed a $28 million no-show endorsement deal with this tree planting company, as Pablo described it, but kind of this carbon offset company called Aspiration. It was structured with four $7 million payments. That company filed for bankruptcy. They did have other celebrity endorsers, but notably, Leonard didn't do anything and hasn't done anything to date, has never mentioned this company before. So as far as paying $28 million to endorse your company and having that guy not having ever mentioned your company before, it doesn't seem like money well spent. The other interesting factoid here is Steve Ballmer did inject $50 million into that company, which is definitely sus. Of course, all the caveats about alleged. Also, surrounding Kawhi, his camp allegedly asked for something similar from the Raptors, including an ownership stake in the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Yeah, which is, and so all the things that supposedly, allegedly, he asked for with Toronto, there's been reports from, the Lakers side of things that are leaking that, he asked for those things as well. And, Jeannie Buss said no, the Raptors said no. And then he supposedly, allegedly, may have gotten those things with the Clippers. It seems very coincidental that, Ballmer would, donate $50 million to Aspiration, and then there's this no-show job of $28 million plus another $20 million in stocks and bonds, so that's $48 million, and then there's $2 million, which a lot of people are saying that's basically kind of like a finder's fee, or not a finder's fee, but like the go-between. I don't know what the technical term is for like when you're like the middleman or whatever. It's been a while since I've seen Ozark, so I can't remember what that's called, but yeah, so. It looks It looks very, very suspicious for sure. Like, I just don't see how the NBA doesn't take this very, very seriously. And apparently they are. They've hired some lawyers who are like big time to investigate. I know that people are saying like if this was Stern, the punishment would be very, very hard. But Adam Silver, it'll be a slap on the wrist. But this is something that, say what you want about Adam Silver, but his bosses are the 30 owners. And so if he's getting pressure from 29 other owners about this, I think he will, listen to them.
Yeah, that's right. They did hire a high-powered law firm, Wachtell, to investigate. And I mean, I agree with you. And I think all fans around the league, except maybe Clippers fans, agree that there has to be some form of punishment. Because if the Clippers get away with this, and it's pretty blatant what likely occurred here, then what's to stop all the other major market teams from doing this and further putting space between the haves and the have-nots in the NBA? There are rules like this for a reason, and if you don't enforce the rule and you don't have a mechanism to enforce the rule, then what's the point of having those rules in the first place? Now, there were some jokes running around in social media that one of the punishments for the Clippers, and maybe it came from a Clippers fan, should be to rescind the SGA trade.
Right. Yeah. And so SGA goes back to them. I guess they get J-Dub then as well, and Thomas Sorber. Yeah. I've also seen the joke that the Kawhi's punishment is he has to play all 82 games this year. Instead of being suspended all 82, he has to play all 82. Obviously, if this were to be allowed, if this was like a slap on the wrist and no real punishment were to go down, who's to say that, OKC Thunder fans couldn't start like an LLC called We Heart I Heart, and everybody donates some money to the I Heart Foundation, and, we'll just see what happens with that money. No, I'm kidding. Allegedly, supposedly.
Well, the unfortunate thing is if you put together all the Thunder fans, and I'm sure there's a number of loyal fans out there, I don't know how you compete with billionaires like Steve Ballmer, right? There's just not enough money in the world that can compete. And that's why it is such an issue and creates such a potential for a competitive disadvantage for the teams that have an ownership group or owners or other people associated with the team who have limitless amounts of money that they could arrange for deals like this.
I read, and this may or may not be true, but I think it is true, that Steve Ballmer is worth more than every other NBA owner combined. Which, I mean, if that is true, that is absolutely insane. Like, you just cannot compete with that. Like this, I mean, that's, and so if you got the richest, the sixth richest man in the world, limitless money, can throw money in anything. If you just slap him on the wrist, fine him some money, he doesn't even blink at that. So,
well, I'm going to put you on the spot here since we're talking about value here. What do you think Steve Ballmer's net worth is?
I looked up. I think it was like 153 billion. Is that wrong?
Yeah.
That seems like crazy.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen numbers, between 150, 155 billion. So yeah, I mean, 150 billion plus is his net worth.
That is,
it fluctuates, with the Microsoft stock price. But yeah, it's mind boggling.
Yeah, it is insane. Like, kudos to him. Like he's paying for Intuit out of his own pocket, but like, that's not even a drop in the bucket for him. Like he can, he pays for that building and it's like nothing. I guess we should say, like, since we're talking about this, obviously, Thunder fans has some sort of, stake in what happens here because they do own the Clippers first round picks in 2026 and 2027. One of them is a swap, both of them unprotected, both the pick and the swap. So obviously, if Kawhi were to be suspended or banned for a year, or if that contract was voided, but they're still on the hook for that money, as far as the salary cap goes, obviously that would very much benefit the Thunder and those draft picks, potentially. The Thunder fans do have a rooting interest in this, but this goes obviously beyond that. This is a much bigger issue because it's kind of like the integrity of the league and competitive balance is hanging in the balance. But yeah, obviously Thunder fans, if those draft picks that already, that trade already got you SGA and J-Dub and Thomas Sorber, and if it makes those draft picks even better, I mean, obviously they're going to have a rooting interest.
Well, I, for one, am praying that the book gets thrown at the Clippers for this blatant, alleged rule violation. But on another note, I think we're just killing it with the segues, because from this topic of a major free agency scandal to the topic of just free agents in general, let's run through your list of the top 10 free agent acquisitions by the Thunder in their history. You ready? You did your research?
I did my research, and I feel pretty good about this list, quite honestly.
All right, so let's start with number 10.
Number 10, it is Mr. Raymond Felton. He became a fan favorite in his time in Oklahoma City. He was well known for his time with the Knicks before he came to the Thunder. And from what I hear is he's still around Oklahoma City. I don't know if he's still living in Oklahoma City or just spends a lot of time in Oklahoma City. But, he's talked about it. He loved his time with the Thunder, and Thunder fans loved him. The Thick Daddy memes and nicknames and all that stuff. He kind of became like a cult legend here in OKC.
Yeah, like Big Ray. Okay, who's at number 9?
Number 9, giving a call to Mr. Caron Butler. He was a former All-Star. He was obviously past his prime when the Thunder signed him. But, to get a guy like Caron Butler with his past, history and success to sign in OKC and, to be an important bench player, an important role player on some, pretty solid playoff teams, I think that's a top 10 signing.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think at the time, too, it was a pretty notable signing because the Thunder have always had the reputation of not being able to attract marquee free agents. And, yeah, some people thought Caron Butler was about kind of the top end of what the Thunder could pull as far as marquee free agents. But, hey, there's 8 more to go, so there's bigger names on this list.
I don't know if number 8 is a bigger name, but he is in my world. Amo, Anthony Morrow, or as Brian Davis would call the fastest gun in the West. I still try to emulate the no-dip shot that Amo has when I'm playing pickup hoops. Is Caron Butler a bigger name? Yes. Is Raymond Felton a bigger name? Yes. But I think if you ask any Thunder fan, they'll tell you, Amo means more to them than those guys.
Yeah, and he had a pretty big role in various Thunder runs and was a big fan favorite. So who do you have at number 7?
Number 7, another fan favorite. Probably the biggest fan favorite so far would be Moose, Mike Muscala. This was a guy, famously, Sam Presti flew out to meet in his hometown. And, I think people were like, why did you have to fly out to meet Mike Muscala? Because he kind of had this, reputation for being, an underperformer, I guess, before the Thunder signed him. But, man, he killed it with the Thunder. He was great with the Thunder. As a matter of fact, he was so good that he cost them Tyrese Maxey.
That's right.
but no, Moose became a fan favorite. He became a favorite in the locker room. That was a great sign. Nobody knew it at the time. But man, what a home run signing and free agent that was with Moose.
Yeah, and he retired as a member of the Thunder. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. And he came back for another go-round. He had a lot of, chemistry with this team before they became a contender. Those rebuilding years, having, that vet in the locker room and that presence, I think he meant a lot to not only the fans, but to that locker room and these players as well.
That's right. All right, who do you have at number 6?
Number 6, Patrick Patterson. I would argue that every single player before Patterson on this list had an actual bigger on-court impact than Patterson did. But if you remember at the time, that was a really shrewd signing. And, it seemed like he was going to be a possible difference maker. He was really good. he's kind of like the opposite of Mike Muscala. He was really good before he came to OKC, and then with OKC, like you saw flashes, but he just wasn't what he was before. Whereas Mike Muscala looked even better in OKC. But if you go back to like the actual signing and the excitement and what he could actually mean, Patterson was a pretty big signing at the time.
That's right. What about at number 5?
Number 5. I'm putting this one pretty high because he was such a well-known quantity. He was such a well-known leader, and he was a champion many times over on a high-profile Lakers team. He was Kobe's BFF. Got to give it up to Derek Fisher.
Yeah, well, and he was a waiver pickup originally for the Thunder, if I recall, and that was the biggest waiver pickup the Thunder arguably have maybe ever had.
Yeah, oh my gosh, he was a waiver pickup, wasn't he? In my mind, he was a free. I think he signed again. Like once his contract was done, he signed again with the Thunder as basically a free agent. Probably shouldn't count, but I'm going to get some love to Derek Fisher and is stepping on.
Well, and I say waiver pickup, but there was always that time of the year. There's always that time of the year where the buyouts happen and the contending teams are going out and trying to get their guys, and the Thunder are trying to add people. And of course, we talk about the rap on Oklahoma City not being able to attract the marquee players. Being able to attract Derek Fisher in the buyout market was massive for the organization.
Yeah, that's right. It was a buyout. Okay. I feel better about it again. That's right. Yeah, that's what I basically when I made this list, I was trying to think of guys who like actually chose to come to Oklahoma City, and Derek Fisher did that. Yeah.
Sorry to confuse you there with the terminology. It was my mistake calling him waiver when it's a buyout. Imprecise in my words
you're
there.
All good. You're all good. I just thought I had brain fog.
Number 4.
Nerlens Noel. Nerlens Noel, he was a guy that at one time was considered like a number 1 overall draft pick. And I think that when you look at his contract versus his production and what he meant to those OKC teams that he was on, those playoff teams, he was really good. And he's a guy that I think a lot of teams were interested in, and he came to OKC. I think that Nerlens Noel was a very, very good free agent signing.
Yeah, and he was a contributor when he was in Oklahoma City. So, I think it was a pretty notable pickup as well. So now let's move on to number 3.
Okay, number 3 should honestly be number 1. But I'm kind of cheating I'm just going to spoil this right now and tell you I'm kind of cheating for number 1 and number 2. So this is my number 3, but technically should probably be number 1, is Isaiah Hartenstein. An absolutely massive signing. It was a game changer. Absolutely helped the Thunder propel them to an NBA title this year in his first season with OKC. You get a starting quality center in the free agent market when you already have Chet Holmgren. Just a huge, huge win for the Thunder organization to sign Hartenstein. Like any team would want Hartenstein. And sorry, Hart, that he's number 3 and not number 1 because he really truly should be number 1. But you'll see how I'm cheating for 1 and 2.
Okay, yeah, because now I'm curious because I did think Hart was going to be number 1 because, of course, Hart was such a catalyst for the Thunder's success this year. He played an important role when Chet was out injured, and I think he was the biggest free agent signing in Thunder history as far as the splash that it made around the league, how sought after he was, and how much money they spent on him as well. But let's see who your number 2 is.
All right, so number 2 isn't a true free agent signing, but technically an undrafted free agent still has the words free agent in it, and he still chose to come to Oklahoma City. Like he had options because he was undrafted and he was a free agent, and he came to Oklahoma City. I am talking about one Lou Dort.
All right, I will give you credit for that. I wasn't thinking Lou Dort fit within that, but you're right. He did not get drafted by the Thunder, so I think he fits.
Yeah, I think he should fit. Like, we always think of free agents just as like basically vets who choose which team to go to. But when you're an undrafted rookie, you're also choosing which team you're going to. And you are a free agent, and he chose to come to Oklahoma City, and that ended up being a massive signing. And I would argue, all due respect to Hartenstein, because that was a huge signing, and obviously the circumstances are different and things like that. But Lou Dort, first team all defense, absolute elite role player, shoots 40% from three and will lock down your best perimeter scorer.
Okay, now we got to find out who is number one.
Okay, so this is the one I'm really cheating on. I don't feel like I cheated that much on Lou Dort, but I did cheat big time here. I am saying the number one free agent signing in Thunder history is Paul George. Okay, so I know this sounds like a cheat, but let me explain. I did this with the spirit of players who chose to sign with Oklahoma City. Yes, he was already in Oklahoma City. His contract was over, but he could have signed anywhere. He ended up re-signing in Oklahoma City, but it was basically, he could have been recruited by anybody. He could have gone on a recruitment trail and chose whatever he wanted to choose, go to LA, his hometown, which he eventually did. But because he chose Oklahoma City, the Thunder end up trading him for SGA and J-Dub and an NBA championship. So I will cheat here and say because he chose to re-sign with Oklahoma City, that Paul George netted SGA, J-Dub, and a championship is the greatest free agent signing in Oklahoma City history.
Well, you had to bring it all back to Paul George, so we'll let that slide this time. I don't think he really fits the qualifications of this task. But if it's another opportunity to trump up and talk about how great that trade was and that the Thunder were able to get SGA, J-Dub, and others for Paul George, we'll take that opportunity. That's fine.
I did the thing that I don't like when media companies do when they purposely put something at number one that doesn't really fit just to be like, oh, you just wanted a twist at the end. Real clever. I did that exact thing, and I don't like it when other people do that.
And then here you are. I thought when you said that you were manufacturing this a little bit, that you were going to make Alex Caruso number one, because he was a free agent signing for the Thunder by the same criteria as Lou Dort.
That's true. But that's a good point. Oh, man, I need to redo my list. Hold on.
Although the Thunder did waive him, and then he ended up playing for the Blue. But he did sign with the Thunder.
That is a great point. Also, before we finish this, I want to shout out an honorable mention, Alec Burks. Remember him?
Yeah.
Technically, the Thunder did sign him, and he ended up being really good that season. And for the next couple of seasons, Alec Burks was really a really solid scorer off the bench wherever he was. He signed with the Thunder, but once the Thunder traded away Paul George and Russell Westbrook, they went to both Alec Burks and Mike Muscala and said, hey, look, circumstances have changed. I know you signed here to be a key role player off the bench for a title contending team, or at least a playoff team. But if you don't want to do that anymore, we understand. We won't hold you to it. And Alec Burks, decided to go somewhere else, and Mike Muscala stayed. But if you look at it, that was a really good signing, because he did end up being a really, really solid bench player and scorer for the next several seasons.
Well, I'm going to give you my honorable mention as well, and that's going to be Isaiah Joe, who is a free agent signing after, I think, being released by the Sixers, and that's how he came to the Thunder.
See, I thought about Isaiah Joe, but I didn't include him because he was claimed off of waivers. And so my criteria was, they basically choose to come here, and obviously he re-signed and he's been incredible. A very impactful, 3-point shooter for the Thunder. But I didn't choose him just because he was claimed off of waivers.
Was he? I thought that he signed outright after he was waived from the Clippers, or the Sixers. That he went unclaimed and then ended up signing with the Thunder.
If he did choose to sign with the Thunder, well then, honestly, if he were to be on this list, I would put him at number 4 above Nerlens Noel.
Okay, we'll say that he is on this list and tied with you had him at number 4.
Yeah, I had him at number 4.
Tied with Noel. We'll include him on this list because Isaiah Joe deserves some love. He's been an incredible part of the team. And I was just looking at his basketball reference page, and maybe it's just the same questions that are on everybody's page. I'm not sure. But there already is a question on his basketball reference page saying, is Isaiah Joe in the Hall of Fame?
That's amazing.
The answer is no today, but who knows in the future.
And he should absolutely make the three-point contest this coming year. Like, the Thunder are getting like a championship bump with national TV appearances and getting the bump, Christmas Day, opening night. I think Isaiah deserves the championship bump and getting into the three-point contest.
Well, the campaign starts now, so let's make sure that the league is aware that Isaiah Joe should be in the three-point contest. Well, good list, Brandon. Even if you had to cheat to get Paul George at number 1, hey, we won a championship, so I think almost anything goes now.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. This is fun. I'm excited about the season, but the off-season rankings have been great. I am looking forward to our first kind of preseason pods as well, because once preseason rolls around, like the excitement, the championship excitement will be right back, seeing this team in action again.
Well, all the great content, lists, off-season activity, whatever you need is right here on the Daily Thunder podcast. And that's all the time we have for today. Thanks for tuning in to the Daily Thunder podcast. I'm John Napier, host of the podcast, and he's Brandon Rahbar, Daily Thunder beat writer. If you enjoyed the show, make sure to subscribe to the Daily Thunder podcast on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss any future episodes. And if you like what you hear, do us a favor and leave us a rating and review wherever you get your podcasts, and we'll be back in your feed soon.